Onward a Pixar movie?
Onward.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
Welcome to Idiot Plot, a comedic podcast critiquing, discussing, and analyzing the media industry through reviews, debates, and historical deep dives.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Idiot Plot. I'm David Yanich, and joining me, as always, are my co-hosts Alex Overdahl.
Welcome back.
And Justin Neitzel.
How's it going, everybody?
On today's episode, we're going to continue our discussion on the movies of 2019, where we left off from last week. But before that, we're going to start off our show like we do every episode with what we watched this week. So who wants to start us off?
I finally did the thing that everybody yells at you to do from the second you started watching movies, and I watched Seven Samurai. And it's fantastic.
Do you mean actual Seven Samurai or Bug's Life?
Actual Seven Samurai. Well, if you ask a lot of the Seven Samurai are Kurosawa fans, everything is a ripoff of everything he did.
Isn't Star
like
Wars
every movie has apparently ripped off Seven Samurai, but there are plenty of them because honestly, you see the pattern. But I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. The battle scenes, I don't know why I was expecting like really exaggerated action scenes, but actually it's really the reverse. They're very gritty and contained. Even when the scale gets bigger, it's like very like matter of fact, very realistic. And everybody always talks about the battle scenes and the length and all those things that make it good because it's a good story. You know, it's kind of a bit of an epic. 3.5 hours, whatever, and the story's told well over that time. But I think what surprised me the most, and I think the reason it's so well regarded, is the characters. Like, all of them are so well varied. They have great personalities. They stand out from each other, and you really care for them. And it's a good film at not being able to predict which one's going to die. And, you know, it'll throw that at you as the story goes on. So it's... you really grow to love the characters, and they all have unique motivations, and it definitely lives up to its lofty reputation. Have
you seen The Magnificent Seven?
I have not.
And I mean the good one, not the new one.
Yeah, is that like... I'm guessing it's like Seven Samurai, but Western.
It's the exact same movie. I mean, you can tell in the title.
Yeah.
One has swords, the other's got cowboys.
Oh yeah, this is literally the same plot.
Yeah. I have not seen Seven Samurai. Okay, Justin, how about you?
I watched the movie Soul, Pixar's latest movie. This movie was about a guy, a school teacher who finally lands a big time gig playing as a jazz pianist, and then finally gets into an accident and finds himself between life and death. This movie started out pretty good. I was enjoying a lot of stuff in the kind of the afterlife, kind of between death and being alive, and then it kind of went in a direction I didn't care for too much. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it yet.
How does it compare to Inside Out?
Inside Out, I think, is a lot better.
Because they seem like kind of similar movies. Would you say they're similar films?
They're similar on the concept that one's in the mind and one's in kind of the afterlife area, but Inside Out spends more time inside the mind with the characters than Soul does. And that's kind of where it kind of went a direction I didn't care for.
Okay.
I think that the fact that you said you were enjoying it when it was in the Soul world, which is legitimately what looked interesting to me in the trailer, and then goes in a different direction, makes me not interested. Like, that's
I thought the fact it was animation made you not interested.
Hey, that is also true. But if I'm gonna watch an animated one, right, that this might be one because it has a word shot.
I should take that back. It went in a different direction. It still goes back to the Soul world every now and again. I guess I didn't like what they were doing in the human world.
Okay, interesting.
But otherwise, it was a very enjoyable movie. I think people should check it out.
Would you say it's better than Onward when it comes to Pixar films of 2020?
Was Onward a Pixar movie?
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
So I'm taking Soul's better. I'm taking it from that Soul's a better movie.
Soul's a better movie. I like Onward more.
Interesting.
Just I enjoy the fantastic element of Onward, where Soul I think is a better technical movie.
I feel like Onward came out in like a different universe at this point.
It came out the worst time.
It was like I think that was the last movie I saw.
It was one of the last pre-COVID ones.
I didn't see it because I didn't get to it in time before the pandemic shut everything down, and I still haven't watched it. I should.
That and
it's on Disney Plus.
Best Picture contender, Bad Boys for Life. And
anyway, for my pick, I'm gonna switch gears. I'm gonna talk about a TV show. Not because we're talking all about movies, but I'm gonna switch to like a TV show now. And I just started season 2 of the Amazon Prime show The Boys, which for people that don't know is a superhero TV show, but it's not like your normal MCU, DC garbage that those things have become. It's a satire of those, where it's a world where the superheroes are not really good people. They're more just businessmen doing a job run by this giant mega corporation that has this big conspiracy plan to basically take over the world, in quotes, not really, but in corporate speak, take over the world.
So basically, normal people.
Yeah, they're basically just normal dudes. And it's about this organization called The Boys, whose job is to keep the superheroes in line. Before I watched the show, I did read the comic. I am a fan of the comic. It's not my favorite book ever written, but it's very enjoyable and it's very good superhero satire. Season 1 of The Boys did not impress me at all. I thought it was super slow. I thought that the story was too disconnected. There wasn't really an A plot, and the one that was there was super loose and super weak and was kind of abandoned at times. And that it looked visually terrible. It had that crappy digital camera cheap look that all Amazon Prime dramas seem to have.
Yeah.
Like it looked bad. I hated watching it. Because it looked like students made it. Season 2, though, has impressed me. It still has some of my issues with season 1, but it's moving faster. I love the story that they're setting up. I do recommend it, especially for people that don't like superhero stories, and there are many people out there that have grown fatigued with Marvel and DC. This is the show for you. And I know that there are many people.
The exact opposite of Marvel and DC.
Yeah, because I know, Justin, I know that you really like the show.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I knew there was a comic that it was based off, but I didn't read any of it. And I had just seen the partial TV trailers, and I was like, I'm going to check this out. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. I agree with some of your problems that you have. I agree.
Yeah, I've wanted to watch it. I've heard great things about it. It seems interesting.
And with that, I'm going to switch gears and we're going to go back to our discussion of 2019 movies. And I'm going to kick us off with another big film from 2019. This movie, not only did it win the Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Screenplay, original screenplay, I believe, it also is indicative of one of the biggest themes of 2019 movies, which was making fun of the rich and the wealthy. Movies like Knives Out made it into a comedy murder mystery. Ready or Not made it into a strip horror movie. But the movie I'm going to talk about and bring up did that theme unlike any other movie before it, and that is Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. Trying to describe this movie is very hard to do in words, because it's unlike anything I think ever made. It's a comedy, it's a horror film, it's a drama, it's a thriller, it's everything. And for people that haven't seen it, it is a South Korean movie about this very poor family that in order to get ahead kind of makes themselves through unethical means, through lying about who they are, makes themselves a central part of this very wealthy family. They're working for this family, and they've become super entwined into their lives. But as the story progresses, you kind of learn some stuff about the nature of their relationship with the family and the past of their previous people that worked for them. And I don't bring it up because it's honestly the best part of the film is unraveling all these mysterious threads. But it accumulates into this massive, insane finale that I did not see coming at all. Bong Joon-ho is a masterful director. He's an amazing writer. And this film, while I don't know if it's the best of the year, I am totally fine with it winning Best Picture and all the other awards that it managed to scoop up in the award season. I think it was a well-deserved winner.
And I think, for me, I have multiple movies ranked higher, but it's an absolutely great film. And like you said, I'm more than good with it winning. And that's a big part of it, is that I think it might be the most agreed upon great film of the year, whether people have it as their top one, which a lot of people do, or it's lower, but you still think it's great. I think everybody is kind of in agreement, and that's because, like you said, Bong Joon-ho is amazing. And going back to, like, the theme of, like, I don't know if this one is necessarily just making fun of rich people, and I think that's why it works so well. It's more like just about the wealth divide and that conflict in general, because like you said, they use unethical means to get in there and be a part of this rich family, but also the rich family is like stupid and pretty terrible. In hilarious ways oftentimes, and it's really a unique balance. Bong Joon-ho has done this a few times, but it's a balance of hilarious and then also just eventually going completely intense and insane.
Bong Joon-ho is a master at combining tones and themes that should not work together. The story of Parasite should not work. This should not be a good movie, but it is. It's an amazing movie. And part of it, to me, stems to the fact that, most movies that make fun of the rich, at least recently, have, in my opinion, relied too much on the trope of rich, bad, poor, good, and just making the super wealthy super evil, whereas films like Parasite humanize them. They're not good people. I'm not saying it makes them like super good people. They're pretty stupid, like people. You said, pretty vapid.
Right, it's very complex.
But they're not just caricatures. They're actual fleshed out characters.
I need to see this movie.
Yes, you do.
All I hear is good things. And before anyone gets on my case, the only reason I haven't seen it is because it is subtitled. I'm not the fastest reader, and sometimes I have to. It's hard for me to read, and see what's going on screen. So sometimes it takes me a while to get to these movies.
Well, I think with a lot of people, this movie weirdly made people realize that foreign language movies are actually a thing. And I think that's what upset some people when it won Best Picture, is a lot of people thought that there were better foreign language films than Parasite that should have been getting recognition.
Which is stupid because, well, they didn't come out this year.
Yeah.
They didn't come out in 2019. But it's, is Parasite my favorite foreign film? No. Is it up there? Definitely. And again, it was a big moment because it's one that everybody kind of agrees upon, and things kind of built to this with foreign films getting more recognition. So that's another reason I'm very good with it winning Best Picture, is because it's kind of about time that won Best Picture.
Yeah, it really is.
You just gotta find that one that strikes everyone. We are different culture than around the world, so not anything made over there is not necessarily going to hit us over here. I'm not saying it's bad, but
yeah, and that's a part of it. And also, like, there's been a pattern of like the foreign film that really should be competing for Best Picture just getting a nomination in like director or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of classic ones, like Das Boot, Battle of Algiers. Some of the Kurosawa ones got like director and screenplay nominations, but never Best Picture ones.
But even modern ones like Roma.
Yeah, that just didn't win anything.
I thought it did win Best Director.
No, he won Best Director.
But he didn't win Best Picture, which normally if you win Best Director, you win Best Picture. That's usually kind of how it goes.
Well, there was controversy with it being Netflix.
Right, yeah, they don't like Netflix.
Netflix bad.
They can get over it at this point. I mean, they're going to have to probably in 2020.
Well,
Nomadland.
That's true. Nomadland's going to win everything.
If they don't, it's just going to be Bad Boys and anything that was released in January and February. It's going to be... Or Wonder Woman 1984. Ooh.
But yeah, I think... and the other way things kind of built to Parasite... besides like other countries' films, specifically Bong Joon-ho, like looking back now that I know of him from Parasite and looking back at his past stuff and watching it, he was already so good. Like Memories of Murder, The Host, Snowpiercer. So these things built up, and then now you get this one where it really broke through.
And his range. I mean, he's
done all kinds of genres.
He every movie is a different genre. You have The Host, which is a monster movie. Memories of Murder is a mystery. Snowpiercer's an action movie. Parasite's this weird combination of everything. It's hard to know what he's gonna do next, but you know he's gonna kill it. Like, I will watch anything he makes now. Whatever movie he releases next, I'll be in the theaters if they're open first thing.
I've said that since I saw Snowpiercer.
I mean,
that one's also wild.
Yeah, he makes movies that should not work, like The Host, which we talked about, I think, a couple weeks ago on the podcast during what we watched. It's a monster movie that's super political.
And I think Memories of Murder is his most like straight up one. That plot you could see other people doing it, yet in that he has his style that again stands out. You can always tell when it's his with the tone shifts, and he nails it. And I think doing different genres is kind of the sign of like the best writers and directors. When like you think about, somebody like Kubrick, you think about like the Kubrick style, but he did comedies, he did other things. You think about, Spielberg, Scorsese, they've all done different genres, but you can always tell when it's their movie. Mm-hmm. Like you can always tell when it's Bong Joon-ho because it's freaking nuts.
Mark my words now, I think Bong Joon-ho, if he keeps this up, will be on the list of greatest directors.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's consistently made great stuff, and now he's won Best Picture. And he's got, he's still young.
He's on the right path.
Yeah, he hasn't missed yet, unless you count maybe Okja, because Okja wasn't super great, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, and if that's like, do you not miss? Or you only have like one miss or something.
I mean, Spielberg's got misses. I mean, you can have misses.
But Spielberg's also...
You make so many films that you inevitably have misses, and then make like 10 of the best films ever made.
Yeah, when you crank out a movie a year like Spielberg has been, you'll have a miss or two in there.
Yeah,
I mean, no one's gonna bat 1,000.
Unless you do Kubrick and wait 10 years. Like, I'm going to make one every 10 years in my later years so I don't miss.
Well, you could do that too.
But, like, yeah, if you're cranking them out, you're going to. But just that pretty much consistent level of quality. It feels like he's in, like, his prime territory, and his next thing will probably also be amazing.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I got on Parasite. Go watch it. There's a Criterion release. There's also a normal one that's probably much cheaper, but probably isn't going to be as swaggy and nice.
Yeah, give me that Criterion.
But yeah, and with that, we'll move on to Justin. What do you got for us?
All right, my movie is the 1917, the World War I epic directed by Sam Mendes. Basically, two soldiers assigned to race against the time and over enemy terrain to get a message to stop 1,600 men from walking into a death trap. And this movie is beautifully shot. I mean, it's all shot as one take. You feel like you're like walking with these guys and you're on the mission with them. It's like kind of like playing a video game, except you just don't get to help shoot all the enemies. And
God bless Roger Deakins.
Yes,
The goat.
The goat.
we praised him last week. We're going to do a service again this week.
Every time.
But some of these long takes are just, especially the action sequences, are so mind-boggling. It's like, wow. Like the one scene where he's running down the field, like he wasn't scheduled to run into people or fall down. He just did it, and they just like kept rolling with it. And it's like you couldn't predict that, but yet it feels like that should happen in the movie because it's not perfect. It's all spur of the moment, how it would be in the real world. My only complaint is I do feel like this movie does get high praise just because it is shot like a one take. But I mean, I still think it's a great movie. You have two unknown actors that I've never seen, but been in a lot of stuff. It looks like TV shows and stuff, who just have to go on their journey and meet their next. Like I said, it's like a video game. They have to meet their next all-star, big-name actor, British actor. I mean, first you start with Colin Firth, then you go to Mark Strong, and then the last one is
Bubblegum
Cumberbatch. But
Yeah, I think I'm the highest on this of us, I think. And it's because
higher than me, I know that for a fact.
Yeah, people,
I'm up there with you, Vidal.
the thing a lot of people say, like, I'll get to praising the production stuff, but I think what a lot of people say, to get this out of the way, is that, like, there's not much there for the story. The story's not super complicated, this or that. But I think, for me, that's what makes the story so good, is because it's like a perfect example of how to keep your story simple but effective. Like, they don't add all this extra stuff. You stay with them the entire time. You learn a little bit about them, enough to care, but not enough to get bogged down in, here is photo of my wife. Here is photo of all of my children. Here is my entire backstory. I can't wait to get back to my farm.
Flashback to farm.
Right, yeah, flashbacks, all that. Like, it keeps it simple, it keeps it moving, it keeps the tension constantly up, and that contributes to the feel, besides the one take that does it perfectly, of, like, the tension and being there with them, is it keeps it very straightforward and constantly moving. And it still has, interesting thematic points about war while keeping things very simple. And then, yeah, the direction, I mean, not every war movie is an epic. This is absolutely an epic. I mean, the scope of it is amazing. Besides just the one takes, like how big the sets are, how practical everything is, and the one take thing is much more than a gimmick, because that was the question going in: is it going to be a gimmick or is it going to contribute? And that's like what causes the whole feel of the film that makes it so tense, is that you feel like you're there because it keeps moving continuously.
And there's stuff that happens off screen that you don't see.
Yeah.
It's like you're there.
Now here's the part where David comes in and starts a fight with everyone. Because while I did not hate this movie, and I did like it, I do think it's kind of overrated. Mostly because it got the Academy Award nomination for Best Screenplay, which in my opinion it did not deserve, because what the heck did the screenplay even say?
You're not going to get an argument from me on that.
Run through field. He continues to run through field.
He ducks and dodges bullets.
He ducks and dodges, like that to me, I don't know how that gets a screenplay nom. I think from a technical standpoint, it's dang near perfect. It's pretty obvious where the cut points are, which to most people isn't going to matter. But to me, it was pretty obvious where they were cutting.
Because
every time the camera goes behind a rock, there's where you cut.
Yep, there's the cut point. Oh, is it dark now? Or the entering a dark tunnel? Yep, there's the cut point. But that said, I did enjoy the movie. I did think it was a little empty at times, especially from story and screenplay. I do think it had a strong core story, and I think it had strong core characters. I just wasn't invested in it as much as I wish I was. And part of it is on me, because right before I saw 1917, I watched They Shall Not Grow Old, which is a World War I documentary done by Peter Jackson, where he took real footage and modernized it and remastered it, which is an amazing documentary. And that, I guess, made me want a movie that 1917 wasn't, which is more me than the movie itself. Because when I think of World War I, like, we haven't gotten a lot of modern World War I movies. We've actually been pretty light on those. I mean,
No, it's mostly all World War II.
Yeah, we really haven't gotten many in general. I mean, there's Paths of Glory and Western Front, and that's like it.
And World War I is this giant, massive affair where large portions of entire countries passed away. I mean, just the sheer scope of death is staggering. Like, you can't comprehend it. You know, trench warfare, gas, this horrible scenario.
I forgot Lawrence of Arabia, but I don't really count that. There's no trenches.
Wonder Woman, the first one.
True. And honestly, you see more of what you think World War I is in that movie than you do in 1917, which is sad to say. True. Not that 1917 is bad, but you don't really see, I think, a true
lot of trench,
like World War I story like what I wanted to see until the very end, and it's pretty brief. Granted,
that does feel like, instead of taking it for what it is, expecting a different movie.
I said that as much, but at the same time, I wish there was more bigger scale stuff, because you talk about scope and scale. To me, it only really gets big in scale until the very end. Most of the story is two people walking around, and they occasionally encounter other people, usually also in small groups. It doesn't really get big in scope until the last 20 minutes. And I was kind of hoping for more. And I don't think that worked as much. Just because you were just watching people walk around. I think it was tense, and it was very well shot, especially the climax. The climax was amazing. You're not going to get any complaints from me on that. It was dang near perfect. I don't know. I just thought it was a little bit empty and a little bit lacking.
Well, that's like your opinion, man.
See, I knew you weren't going to agree with me. Like I knew that going in.
Definitely not.
No, but like you said, mostly when you see a movie, it's all about the expectations.
I also really just wish that people, I mean, this is something I'll probably complain about many times, but again, it's one of those films where I wish more people made more stuff like this now.
I agree.
Like practical sets, big wide shots, like nobody wants to do it anymore, and that's another thing I appreciated.
I'm sure
we still got Nolan. He does it too. So
true.
Yeah,
I'm sure that if I rewatch it, I will like it more. I'm positive on that. I just haven't rewatched it since I saw it in the theater, because it's very well made. I mean, Sam Mendes is an amazing director, minus Spectre. Spectre's garbage, but
which he did. I guarantee he didn't want to do.
No, he didn't.
But I mean,
I saw the movie. Did not.
Skyfall is maybe my favorite Bond film. American Beauty is fantastic. He's got a wide range of stuff he's done, and he's a great director.
Road to Perdition.
I still have to see that.
You have to see it. It's great.
And of course, all hail Roger Deakins. All bow for the master.
Cinematography god.
When he got his second Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At this point, he's just flexing. He's like, you want to see some one-take stuff at night? I mean, his resume is like downright absurd.
Hey, if he keeps flexing, go right ahead. I want to see it.
I just wish the cut points weren't so obvious. It's my only complaint with his job in it, is I wish the cut points weren't so obvious.
But I think that is like the pros cons. Like the one take thing is definitely necessary for the feel of the film and the tension, and it worked great. The downside is everybody starts looking for the cut points.
Yeah.
To be like, I got you, but it's like, I mean.
See, I wasn't even doing that. I just knew because they were really obvious. Anyway, overall, let's move on to your next pick. What do you got for us?
Well, I talked last time about the theme-driven horrors with The Lighthouse, and there was another one that was really impressive this year, Us, by Jordan Peele, his follow-up to Get Out. Interestingly, I saw the fan reaction wasn't as good to this, almost just because people expected another Get Out and not a different kind of film. But like Get Out, this weaves really interesting themes and, themes we're dealing with now, currently relevant themes and interesting themes to think about and chew on with incredible tension. I would say I enjoyed Get Out more as a film. This is definitely scarier. This was so scary and tense. It gets weird in like the best way possible, and I mean it shows that he's one of the best horror directors and definitely here to stay. I was shocked that this did not get award nominations like Get Out did. I mean, Lupita was completely robbed, completely outrageous. She was absolutely incredible in this film, and it's just another great example of combining that theme-driven nature with an interesting plot and then just constant tension.
I like Us so much more than Get Out. I like Get Out, but Us had me sweating by the end. Like, I've never been more stressed out in a movie than I have been during Us. Or at least it's one of the most stressed out times I've been. I love that movie. It's so freaky. And like Get Out, it's not traditionally scary. It's just more you are on the edge of your seat the whole freaking time. And that creates...
Right, this one is a little bit more traditional scary, but it's the tactics he uses are very unique. He's another director like Bong that has a very like unique style.
Because he has that tonal combination.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is the same tone combination that Get Out had of horror mixed with satire, with heavy political and racial undertones, which was most of Get Out. But it works. It's a completely different plot, and it still is amazing. And like you said, Lupita got robbed. I mean, she was amazing, but also Winston Duke was fantastic. The kid actors they had were really great. The soundtrack is amazing.
Oh, that's one of the best soundtracks out there.
The fact that didn't get nominated to me was upsetting because it's fantastic.
It's horror, so I expect them to ignore it for Best Picture, stuff like that. But like the fact that it didn't have other nominations, like for acting or for really anything, it got completely ignored, was shocking.
It's because a lot of people thought it was not as good as Get Out, and I'm not one of them. I like Get Out. I don't think it's a masterpiece like a lot of people do. People seem to think it's one of the best horror movies, if not one of the best movies of the past 10 years. I'm not one of them. I thought Us was a lot more entertaining to me. That was on top. That was in my list of like top 10 probably.
For me, Us is much more tense and scary. I think for me, the plot and the script of Get Out are better. Not that they're both good, but that's what has Get Out getting the edge for me, is that the script is a step above, but both are still great.
In Jordan Peele, I mean, who would have thought that the dude from Key and Peele would be that good of a movie director? But holy crap, the way he directed some of those action sequences in Us, it's unreal. All the long takes, the very tense cutting, the grisly, horrible deaths that terrify you because of all the different smiles and weird music choices. It's such a damn good movie.
I gotta see these two movies. My problem is I hear horror and I kind of just tune out.
But it's not like traditional horror. It's like horror mixed with satire.
Like I said, this is my fault. I hear horror and I tune out.
Actually, I used to do that.
I did that too.
Because I feel like based on the time we grew up, there was a lot of really shitty horror.
Well, horror was a completely different thing. Horror was just torture porn. It was just
late
gore
90s,
and
early
blood and all that.
2000s was absolutely awful for horror, and that's what I grew up thinking horror was, basically.
And I'm just not a big fan of horror. I don't like to go to the movies to get scared. So
see, but I was never really scared by Us or even Get Out. I was just more tense. Like, I know some people were terrified by this movie. I knew people that like would see a pair of red pajamas and freak out. Or like they look in the mirror and be like, is a clone of me? Because for people that don't know, the plot of Us is this family that goes up to a cabin to get away, and they are awoken one night by themselves. These different versions of themselves approach them at night at the cabin and start attacking them. And that's all I'm gonna say. There's much more to this than that. A heck of a lot more. But I'd be ruining the movie if I said what it was. But that whole premise is terrifying to me.
Yeah, it's got some great twists.
Yeah, his Jordan Peele's writing, his directing. I mean, he's the next big thing when it comes to horror. I don't want to say he's the next Hitchcock because I think that's unfair to Hitchcock. Because I think there will only be one of him.
Yeah, you also need about another 30 years to decide that because Hitchcock was making hits for like 30 years.
But if anyone...
This is only his second movie.
But if anyone can beat him or get to that level, it's Jordan Peele. At least at the rate that he's been going. I mean, he's an auteur. So thank you, Emoji Movie, for offering him the role of Poop and inspiring him to quit acting and pursue directing full time. Thank you.
This is the only time the Emoji Movie will get a standing ovation.
Yep, it's the only time we'll have any positive.
The number of great films that Emoji Movie has created now. It was worth it.
Because
we gotta keep that in the history books and always bring it up. Be like, thank you, Emoji Movie. You gave us Jordan Peele.
Just like Ghost of Girlfriend's Past that made Matthew McConaughey rethink his life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Because I mean, Jordan Peele, again, I remember him on Mad TV. Like, a show that I don't think anyone really remembers. I
remember it.
But he was on Mad TV, went to Key and Peele, which was one of the best sketch comedy shows ever made. Especially, like, their horror sketches. They're some of their best ones. That
makes a lot of sense.
Well, like that.
I mean, Get Out could easily be recut as a Key and Peele sketch.
So could Us in a lot of ways. It could easily be.
Yeah.
But Key and Peele had the Silence of the Lambs sketch, which is one of their funniest ones they've ever made. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Also look up was it Baby Jeffrey, the one where it's the toddler with Jordan Peele's head on it that speaks full sentences. It's super creepy, but it's super funny, and that's what his movies have been. Get Out, I don't know if the tone between horror and comedy worked as well as it does in Us. I think it was almost too jarring at times, but I do really like both movies. I'm glad you brought Us, because honestly, I kind of forgot about it a little bit, so I'm kind of glad I got reminded.
Yes, in my top 10.
Okay, so with that, I'll do my next film. I guess my final film on my list, which is a film that I think it went under the radar with some people, and those that saw it absolutely loved it. A film that I'm kind of mad I love for one reason, but can't help but just adore every second of it, and that is Uncut Gems by the Safdie brothers, which features I hate saying this, but an Oscar-worthy performance from Adam Sandler. As much as I've hated a lot of his recent movies, he is so damn good in this film, where he plays a kind of skeezy jewelry salesman with a severe gambling addiction who gets like the biggest score of his life in this gem. And he's trying to sell it as much as he possibly can while trying to kind of escape his gambling debts. And it's a very simple plot, but really the plot isn't the focus of the movie. It's a character study, and normally I don't like character studies, but you truly feel for Adam Sandler's character, who's a complete scumbag, but you understand him in every single way. And it makes him a super complex, I wouldn't say likable, because he's a scumbag, but he's an endearing character that you can understand and you enjoy following his story. Because like every movie the Safdie brothers have made, especially Good Time, it's extremely tense. The way they like to shoot films, which is, I mean, they seem to hate wide shots. All their films usually seem to consist of medium shots and close-ups. And especially with Uncut Gems, it creates this really claustrophobic feeling the entire time you watch it, where you're just following Adam Sandler run around trying to save his own life and solve all of his problems at once. And it's exhausting. It's exhilarating. I absolutely love the movie. I think it got robbed of any awards. Adam Sandler should have won Best Actor. I'll say that now. He should have won. But no cinematography nominations, no anything, and that sucks. Because this film truly is one of the best 2019, and deserves more than it got. And I do think people kind of push it away because of Adam Sandler's involvement, but this isn't Hubie Halloween. This is Ridiculous Six. This is something completely different. It's not a comedy where he makes fart jokes and does the stupid Adam Sandler "my hyena" voice the whole time. It's a legit good drama.
Well, you answered my question for it, considering I was going to be like, so did he deserve an Oscar nomination? Because he said if he doesn't get nominated, you're going to get 5 more of those movies he's made. Because he admits they're bad, but I'm going to make more of them if I don't get nominated.
And I mean, I feel like people don't remember he's done, because it's been so long, he's done like dramatic roles before that he's done well with.
Punch Drunk Love.
Right. But in this case, I mean, it's one of the most intense films you're going to see. And I feel like they just don't nominate thrillers anymore if they're not going to nominate this, because, I mean, there hasn't been a better thriller than this in probably quite some time. I mean, it's just nonstop tension. It keeps moving. His performance, absolutely incredible, and he was completely robbed. But again, beyond that, I mean, the direction, the tension, the script that makes you almost root for this guy who's complete trash. I mean, his no redeeming qualities, but his redeeming quality is like his obsession and drive, and how he just won't stop. Like, and
you want him to win,
so you latch onto that.
You want him to win, even though him winning just enables his terrible behavior.
Yeah, and it's always, it never stops moving, because he like can't stop. He can't just win a little bit. He's got to take his winning and put it on the next even bigger risk, and just it keeps spiraling over and over and over. It's got to be the next one and the next one and the next one, and which again, it's an interesting look at that addiction. He just like can't stop, and I mean the score is one of the best soundtracks of the year. Also robbed, which keeps that just contributes to the tension along with the direction, and it just keeps moving.
The movie got robbed in almost every category, like because it could have been in almost every category. The Safdie brothers
really should have been,
because the Safdie brothers, they know what they're doing. I mean, they're making basically the best thrillers probably since the 70s. Like, Uncut Gems felt very 70s thriller. Not entirely, because they shot it very modern with the use of close-ups and mid-shots. I don't remember the last 70 films doing that, at least almost entirely. But that's what it reminds me of, at least.
Yeah, it's definitely got that same tone and vibe, and that same tension, and it's shot on film and looks incredible. I definitely think that's a big part of the visual. I mean, they just did such a great job with the cinematography. I can't believe it wasn't nominated.
It's bright, it's colorful, like almost like a gem. It's like they shot like a gem. There's so many like light splotches and lens flares and color flashes that work. J.J. Abrams looking at you.
Who says lens flares are only for J.J. Abrams?
It's a fantastic movie that I feel like not many people saw because of Adam Sandler's involvement. And it's like people forgot that he could make good movies. But it's more, he knows his audience. He knows that his audience likes the garbage movies, because there are people that like the bad Adam Sandler movies. The Netflix views that his new movies get are insane. I mean, they're always the
And it's
most
also,
watched thing.
with those, he gets a lot of creative power. In this, he's just playing a role.
And he's damn good at it.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, Justin, what's next from you?
All right, I'm going into the world of documentaries on Apollo 11, which is basically the guy walked into NASA and was like, "Hey, can I look through your archive footage?" And they're like, "Sure." And he found all this footage, which the whole documentary is nothing but archive footage that they found at NASA of the Apollo 11 mission from the moment they take off to the moment they land back on Earth. And this is an incredible journey of seeing everything from all the old technology that was in the command center to the rocket to all the stuff all the things they had to go through to get there. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I also saw this movie. I saw it in the theater, and the 60 millimeter or 70 millimeter footage, one of the two that they got of the launch is beautiful. Like, it's shot like an actual movie, but it's a documentary. Like, it's just gorgeous film to look at. It's extremely tense, even though you know how it ends. The fact that at the time of the filming, they didn't know how it was going to end makes you tense. I mean, looking back now, yeah, it's like, oh, we made it to the moon. You know, everything worked out fine. Back then, they had no idea what was going to happen.
They didn't know if they'd ever see these guys again when they got out of the atmosphere.
So, and that makes it really intense when you realize, oh my God, they were kind of guessing a little bit what was going to happen. Like, they're scared. That makes me scared.
Freaking out. Like, when they're about to land on the moon and they're like, "Oh, we can't land here." And Neil's like, "Oh, I gotta do this," and they're like all freaking out and they're like, "Thanks, guys. You gave us several heart attacks up down here on Earth." And they're like, "Well, how do you think we felt?"
I mean, because everyone knows about the moon launch. Everyone knows everyone's seen the footage of Armstrong on the moon. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. We all know that. But seeing all the other stuff, and
seeing inside the control room where other people are doing math and trying to figure out, okay, how long do we burn? What trajectory do we send them on?
It was a difficult process involving lots of science, lots of equations. It's not just rocket ship go burr up to the moon. You actually have to figure this stuff out ahead of time. And of course, problems are going to come up, and how do you fix them? And seeing that pretty much in real time is great.
It makes you understand what they were going through back then. It wasn't just it wasn't simple, and you kind of know that based on all the problems that also NASA's dealt with, like the fire before Apollo 11, rockets blowing up and everything, and Apollo 13 after this one, where shit went wrong. It's incredible. I mean, I give all people credit for being astronauts. Like, a lot of shit can go wrong, and you don't have much time to think about it or react.
I say it's a really good companion piece to the Damien Chazelle movie First Man, because I saw them pretty close to one another, and I thought that
I was like, this is like, you're basically seeing kind of similar stuff from both movies, and you're like, wow.
I think they actually
quite faithful
together. Go ahead, Justin.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I thought they worked well together. I also liked how they used B-roll to tell the story. They had these weird shots of nothing, yet they worked in context. Amazing editing. Amazing job to everyone who made this movie.
It's amazing. It was just all archive footage.
Because
nothing is from them actually just going out and filming more stuff. It was all in there.
It's an amazing story of people that risked their lives for essentially a pissing contest between us and the Russians.
And we won.
We had no reason to go to the moon. We had absolutely no reason to go to the moon other than to piss off the Russians.
It's also pushing technology and exploration further to later on be able to do more, which we kind of forgot about for 30 years.
It kind of makes you wonder, is there anything else we could get from the moon that we could do another mission? I mean, it'd be a lot easier now.
There's water, right?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, do they think that they know everything they need to know about it? Or because it seems like the next step is Mars.
Well, we know it's not made out of cheese,
there is water,
so
right.
Who cares?
You mean Wallace and Gromit lied to me?
But it's also where do you go from beyond the moon? I mean, I'm not like that person who researches everything about NASA, but space exploration does interest me.
I'll admit, I got way more interested after I saw the movie. I mean, I got the Saturn V rocket Lego set for my birthday because of First Man and the Apollo the movie.
I've always had a fascination with space.
Also, anything 70 millimeter, like, yes, please.
I'm mad I didn't get to see it in IMAX at the Omni Theater at the Minnesota Science Museum. They had like a showing of like a shortened version, and I'm mad I missed it.
Oh, I bet that would have been beautiful.
Oh, I mean, at the Alamo on the big screen, it looked amazing. It's like the best shot documentary I've ever seen. And with that, Ovidal, what's your last pick?
Well, I feel like this one could cause us to fight too, but it's one of the biggest films of the year and one a lot of people watch because it's Tarantino. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which follows a bit of a struggling actor in the 50s, total recreation of 50s Hollywood, the latest Tarantino, and I really enjoyed it. It's a very interesting comedy drama. I enjoyed the arc of DiCaprio, who plays the lead, kind of the failing actor who's trying to get his career back on track. I found his arc really interesting. There's a lot of great humor. There are moments, I admit, where it loses focus. I mean, it definitely doesn't need to be 2 hours and 40 minutes, but I was never particularly bothered by that. And Brad Pitt as his stunt double is always great. And it's just a lot of fun. I've come around on Hateful Eight, but at the time when I saw this, I wasn't big on Hateful Eight. It was kind of refreshing to me to see Tarantino kind of get back to some of that dialogue, which now I am higher on Hateful Eight, but it's more great Tarantino dialogue. It's shot well. They recreate 50s Hollywood with a lot of touch and a lot of great production design. And in Tarantino fashion, it eventually gets pretty wild and hilarious. So now you can start to fight me, and I can counter you.
Well, hold on. I'm on your side here. Don't you drag me into this. See, for me, I think it's a beautiful movie. I do think it's a little bit disjointed with the plot, and I feel like for most people, the ending of it, which I won't give away, but they do twist and change history quite a bit. I think that
you don't expect that from Tarantino at this point. Then you didn't see Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, I was that's just saying. You had guys kill Hitler.
That's it. I didn't like Inglourious Bastards that much, which I know is like a movie crime apparently. I like this more than Inglourious Bastards because again, it's beautiful, and I think the scenes. Like all the different short films almost that make up this movie, I think are very well done.
I loved all of that stuff.
I don't know if it comes together as a whole as well as I would have wanted it to because it is very disjointed. But the performances are amazing. The soundtrack is great. Cinematography. I mean, Robert Richardson, while his style has become where I can almost pick it apart because I can go, there's a top light. There's this framing. He still has it. He's still very good. Production design's fantastic. The way that it changes and actually becomes old TV shows when they do the old TV shows in the movie, loved. I loved how it changed the frame rate and stuff.
And I think, it's always that balance too of is this just going to be, nostalgia for 50s Hollywood, give me awards now kind of thing where it doesn't have a purpose or it feels too showy or oh, look, we did this. But in this case, they do it so perfectly and it contributes to the fun and they have the right balance for it where it doesn't feel pretentious or nostalgia bait and it just feels like recapturing it in a really fun, loose and fast kind of way.
Now, Justin, according to Letterboxd, the movie review app, you have it rated the lowest of all of us, and you actually didn't give it a positive score at all. So I kind of want to know what your thoughts were.
I mean, my problem was it just kind of felt a little disjointed. I mean, I liked, like Inglourious Bastards, I liked scenes of this movie just together, I did not, and I was kind of falling asleep during it, so I kind of was bored. But I mean, acting was great. I just, for whatever reason, just didn't strike well with me.
I mean, I'm kind of with you on the disjointed part. So I guess I'm against
there
there.
were points I wanted to stick more with Leo and Brad Pitt's character, and we kind of went away from them, and I was like, no, go back to them being together. I want them to, because their chemistry was great.
Yeah. I think for me, because that's the great debate about this movie, is the plot and connectedness. I think what connects most of it together that worked really well for me was the arc of Leo's character. I really enjoyed that even more than I was expecting to, just kind of his journey as an actor and trying to get his break.
Trying to re-get his break.
Right. And I think and again, all of the fake movies and fake shows were so funny. But I think what didn't work, the part that was a little disjointed, is the Sharon Tate stuff where she's by herself really has absolutely zero effect on much of anything.
Margot Robbie did a good job, but it really didn't need to be there.
Yeah, right. That part, to me, it's like I would rather get back to him or get back to Brad Pitt's character. It didn't really feel connected enough until the end, but even then, it's like such a loose connection that her scenes felt kind of. It
seemed like Quentin had a story, and then he's like, "Well, we should shoehorn this in to be like, well, this is when it actually is." Because
he liked Sharon Tate, probably, so therefore he wanted her to be a part of the story,
and so he can get more foot shots.
If you don't think he has a foot fetish, watch this movie.
Oh, this was him just flexing it.
Brad Pitt called him out at the awards for it.
Which was great because you just see him just like looking like you were never starring in another one of my movies.
It's still not as bad as the Kill Bill one, but then that'll turn into my Kill Bill rant. So,
well, I think most people's biggest issue with this movie is not even the movie's fault. I remember when it was announced long before it came out, and it was announced not as Quentin Tarantino does 1950s Hollywood. It was announced as Quentin Tarantino does Charlie Manson movie. That's what the story was about this movie for the longest time. That this was going to be a Charlie Manson movie on the Manson murders, and it wasn't at all. And I think a lot of people were really unhappy with that.
That was like an incorrect media buzz kind of thing.
Yeah, it was.
He never claimed it was about the Manson murders. It was just reported like that.
The problem is the media never corrected it.
No,
he might have.
Even in the trailer, I mean, he's in the trailer, but he's in the trailer for like 3 seconds.
Which is
so you can tell it's not really about that.
Well, supposedly they shot more, according to Damon Harriman, they shot more with Manson than in the movie. The actor himself claims that they shot more with Manson. That just wasn't included. And my guess is we'll see a super long version of this like we have with The Hateful Eight now on Netflix with the 4-hour miniseries cut. I'm sure we'll see one of those with this before too long. It sounds like there's a lot of lost footage.
Where's my Django cut? You know, I'm just going to break it rant because I want to. I was told there was 4+ hours of Django coming. I would kill someone to watch that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd watch a 4-hour cut of this. I love Hateful Eight, and I still haven't watched the 4-hour cut of that.
I should watch that. I recent rewatch. I really rose a lot on Hateful Eight.
I mean, I got to see the extended version in theaters, the Roadshow version that had the extra footage, 8 minutes of extra footage. The extra footage helps out a lot because it actually fits in with the mystery mystique more than the theatrical version had. So I'm hoping that the 4-hour cut of Hateful Eight has more of that.
Also, every movie that's near 3 hours or at 3 hours needs to be Roadshow style where it has an intermission because I'm sick of these movies expecting me to not have a pee break. Every movie now has to be 2.5 hours even if it doesn't need to be. And I'm like, well, if we're going to be this long, can we at least have an intermission? I mean, come on.
See, what you do is you pee 10 minutes before the movie, and then you walk out, and then you walk back in and really try to drain this.
Or you get the Run Pee app. It's an actual app. It's called Run Pee. It tells you at what point during a movie is a good time to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and I have a friend who uses that, but my problem with it is like I want to see the whole film. Like I want to see every second. I don't want to miss. I'm not one of those people who like checks my phone during movies. I want to see the whole thing.
Don't buy your giant water bottle you always get at every movie.
Now I have a system, but it's still annoying that I have to do that.
Okay, and with that, our lists are done. But there are so many more movies we want to talk about. We're going to do a quick lightning round. I'm going to call out these movies. We're going to give our brief thoughts on them. And then we're going to move on. So, first up, Joker.
We live in a society. A little overblown, well acted, but
basically meaningless, and the meaning it does have is weirdly gross, and like you hear that a lot about movies, and it's usually not true, but like the themes in this are like legit kind of concerning, and that's why so many people have latched onto it weirdly. And then the reality is just not that interesting. Nothing really happens. It's not as deep as it thinks it is. It's a lot. It tries to do the 70s techniques, but it doesn't know why they're done. Just like it doesn't know, it just mashes together the plots of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but with the complete opposite themes of those movies.
Joker doesn't need an origin story.
He already has one. Just read Killing Joke. I think Joker is the most overrated movie of 2019. It's not worthy of the Oscar nominations that it received. It had the most of any movie from that year. It looks like crap. Joaquin Phoenix does his best to carry what is a terrible script, but a lot of what he does is super pointless, like when he goes into the fridge. That serves no purpose to the script.
It's a perfect summary of the film.
Other than it's weird. Look how weird he is. Todd Phillips' direction sucks. He thinks he's a genius. He's not.
Crime he was nominated.
He should not have been nominated for Best Director.
Justice for Greta Gerwig.
His story is derivative of too many other different movies without charting its own path. It doesn't do enough with the Batman mythos that it possibly could have. And like Overall mentioned, it's disturbing how people are taking its themes unironically, and I don't like it.
It did carve its new way from King of Comedy and Taxi Driver one way. It's bad.
But it's also not as disturbing as the reviews have been saying it is. Like, don't go and think it's a super gross movie. It's not Batman fun, but it's not Nightcrawler.
The only reason it's gross is because it does all these things with no purpose.
True.
That's what feels weird. It does weird, disturbing stuff, which can fit just fine in movies, but it serves no purpose. It's an empty movie.
It gets a big old fat do not recommend from me, and I think we're all united in that.
Yep.
Next up, Terminator Dark Fate. Probably the best 3 out of 5 movie I've ever seen.
Stupid fun.
Perfectly mediocre.
What doesn't work is forgettable, and what does work is hilarious.
Arnold again
me off at the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, the first 5 minutes is not great. But Arnold's having a great time. The action when it's Tim Miller doing what he wants to do is great.
On a bridge.
On the bridge, like always. When it's what James Cameron wanted, it's not very good. Some iffy performances. I think it's better than some people have said it is. Again,
Arnold is amazing.
Yeah, Arnold's amazing. It's a 3 out of 5, but it's a damn good 3 out of 5 movie.
Agreed.
Toy Story 4.
Disappointing.
Do not watch this movie.
I still haven't seen it.
Forget it exists.
It ends on 3.
Yeah, there is no Toy Story 4. I don't even know why we're talking about Toy Story 4, because there is no Toy Story 4.
They haven't made one yet.
The only good things about Toy Story 4 aren't even the original characters. It's Keanu Reeves and Key and Peele.
Who kill it with terrible material and the story that has no reason to exist. It feels
it ignores all the other characters other than Woody.
It's 2 TV specials that they mashed together into a movie. There's 2 different plots going on that have nothing to do with each other. Do not watch it. A movie that took the comedy world by storm, but is, in my opinion, kind of overrated. Booksmart.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Super bad with girls. Basically it.
Which I think saying that is going to offend some people, but the reality is it's structured exactly like Superbad. It's the same movie.
It's still good. The actresses are great, but I've seen this movie before.
Multiple times.
This one.
Including Good Boys. Another film that came out in 2019, which is also just super bad, but better than Booksmart, in my opinion, because it actually tries to change the storyline a little bit. It had different themes, and I think it worked better for that reason. Next film is Ford v Ferrari, the ultimate dad movie of 2019.
This is like, if an AI made a dad movie, it would be this. And it's a solid movie. It's, of all the Best Picture nominees, it was one of them.
My thoughts are simple. Racing scenes were amazing. Everything else existed.
Cars go fast.
Car go brr.
Christian Bale go brr. And then he'd go boom.
I mean, it's all of the stereotypes you would expect from this. The loose cannon driver, the corporate suit who's too stiff and getting in their way, all those kinds of things, but it's well made, it's interesting. I'm not gonna jump and recommend people watch it, but it's a solid film. I mean, it's well made, it's fine.
Weirdly enough, one of the best DC movies ever made, the next film is Shazam.
It's fun. It's a fun movie. I was really surprised by it.
Strong was great as the villain. The suit looks awful, and
it does.
I forget the actor. He needs to bulk up a little more because you can see the padding in the suit.
Zachary Levi. He kind of does.
Yeah,
it just made me laugh more.
It's a fun movie.
The script is really funny. The story is pretty lame and generic, even though they had a pretty good chance to set up an interesting villain after they open. He just becomes mustache twirly, but it's a lot better than I expected because it's just a blast to watch.
Could have did a better job at mixing the personalities of Billy Batson and Shazam.
Yeah, it's about two different characters. And it's supposed to be the same person. The
superhero's acting more like a kid than the kid is.
That was an issue I had with the direction, was that it felt like it was two different characters. But it's so much fun, though.
Oh, yeah.
It got what people want to see superhero movies because they want mindless, stupid fun. And I think from that, it worked. Good acting, decent visual effects, fun time. Now we have going from fun time to what might be the longest movie of 2019, The Irishman. I wanted to like this movie. I wanted to like it a lot. And it's still good. But Martin Scorsese needs to remember how to edit movies because holy crap.
This getting Best Editing nomination is hilarious because that's the worst part of it.
It does not need to be this long. It's like 3.5 hours. No reason to be that long.
It's like it would be an absolutely amazing 2 to 2.5 hour film. Instead, it's a very, very good, almost great 3.5 hour film that is an hour at least too long. Especially the first hour of this movie should be 15 minutes. It really drags until Pacino shows up and gives it life.
He's so good as Jimmy Hoffa.
And the last hour is incredible. The themes it lands at the end are incredible, but it is that hard balance because it's way longer than it should be, which is a shame. But it's still a very, very good film. It just has a very glaring flaw.
The other big issue with it is most of its budget went into CGI de-aging Robert De Niro and some of the other actors, and it didn't work. It doesn't look good. It looks like CGI old-ass De Niro. He still moves like an old man.
Into CGing dead people into stuff or CGing them young because it looks so artificial. It takes you out of the movie. It doesn't work, and you're robbing some other actor of a role who could be great.
He's still very clearly an old man. He moves like an old man. He's not young. He old.
It's like the Frank's brother episode of Always Sunny.
But done. But that probably costs like what, $5? This costs like $50 million to do that. And the final film we'll have us talk about in Lightning Round is Rocket Man, the Elton John biopic, or as I say it, what Bohemian Rhapsody should have been.
Exactly. Take a segment out of their lives and focus on that. You don't have to do his entire life. And I love the whole fantasy elements to it with the songs.
It's more like a musical, which I think turns some people off. But at the same time, it's why I liked it more than Bohemian Rhapsody, because Bohemian Rhapsody was just all the songs.
It was unique.
It was the songs taken straight, whereas in Rocketman, they're arranged differently, they're used differently, they're used as transitions. Like they use Pinball Wizard to show him spiraling with drug abuse. The scene that actually used Rocket Man is beautiful. It's a really well done, well choreographed scene. They sometimes go like Saturday Night All Right for Fighting is almost too musical-ish. And ironically, it's directed by Dexter Fletcher, who directed large portions of Bohemian Rhapsody after Bryan Singer, quote, left, quote, resigned, quote, from the project. And it's significantly better than that. And it's also entirely different. I would highly recommend it, even if you're not in the musicals that much. Because I do think it's a good time. And with that, this concludes our 2019 movies. There's no part 3, even though there probably could have been with how many big movies there were this year.
We'll tackle them in other segments we got. Probably,
because there's so much to talk about. And we will do a best of 2020 coming up soon. The problem is because of the pandemic and the way things are released, there aren't a bunch of movies. And the ones that are, especially the big ones that are going to win awards, we can't watch a lot of them yet. They're just not available to us. But we have to wait until the Oscars come out and we can actually see what stuff is going to be big and when we can actually watch it. So we'll get to that. And I'm sure we'll get to all the 2021 movies that totally won't be delayed another year again.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Whenever that comes out.
The next Bond will come out in 2050.
And it'll still be Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig can't quit being Bond if they never release his final movie. Big brain time. Anyway, with that, for Just Nights on Alex Ovidal, I'm David Yanish. Thank you for listening to Idiot Talk. We'll be back next time. Subscribe to us on Spotify so you won't miss an episode. And also, follow us on Letterboxd. I'm Dahavid.
I'm Jay Neitzel 87, I believe.
I am A. Ovidal. Very original.
Yep, but follow us if you want to see more of our takes on movies and all of our film scores. We're on the Letterboxd app. You can find it in every app store. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.